Well, the pandemic has made it even more difficult for emergency relief organizations like the Red Cross to help people in need. But they're still hard at work, helping in the aftermath of tragedies like the recent windstorms in Iowa, the California wildfires, and Hurricane Laura.
Yeah, so much happening around our country. It was a real pleasure. Earlier today, I got to speak with the president and CEO of the American Red Cross. Here is part of what she told me about how her organization is responding and how you can help.
I'm happy to say that our volunteers still heeded the call, and they turned out in about the same numbers that they would have pre-COVID. People need our help now more than ever because not only are they suffering from these disasters, but they're suffering from the pandemic as well. And we also took advantage of a lot of the local volunteers for each of these disasters who turned out. We have a lot of volunteers that are volunteering virtually, and that's helping too. It's been extremely challenging, but these volunteers, they are true humanitarians and they see a need and they want to jump in and fill it.
People in Buffalo and Western New York always want to help. How can people help right now?
Well, in addition to volunteering for a disaster like we just described, there are ways to volunteer locally. So we respond to about 60,000 disasters a year. So, the odds are that there is going to be one in the neighborhood. So they can help that way. They can host a blood drive and volunteer that way. And I have to tell you, we also need some financial support.
Yeah, no doubt money is tight right now, Mary Alice.
No question. The website is redcross.org, or you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS to donate, or if you want to learn about volunteer opportunities.